Hello, I'm so happy to be back here with my weekly journal number 2. So this week I told you last week that I will give away 4 of my crochet hooks from Furls. I already picked up the winners, but by the time I'm filming this video, they didn't already confirm. So before I will announce them, I would like to have their confirmation and make sure that they are the winners. And because I have 4 different crochet hooks, and I want them to know that, because by the time they will watch this video, maybe they already have the confirmation and everything. I will pack everything up, so all 4 crochet hooks individually, and then I will print the label for the post office, and let's see how lucky are you and if you get the one that you actually wished for. So this is about the context for the other ones that didn't get my message that they are the winner. Don't worry, I will have probably more giveaways like this with crochet hooks and something else. So if you'll be here week by week, maybe you'll get a chance to win something from my site. Now, I'm happy that I have your questions. There were such a good questions I got from you. I wanted to thank you all for giving me your time and ask something. This week, I didn't work too much. I only managed to make all the charts for the sweater, which, by the way, I have some questions about it. And so basically the pattern, the grading, it's ready. And I also finished a project that I have a commission for a yarn brand, but unfortunately I cannot show you that. But now what I'm wearing, this is the sprinkle sweater. I might have to get it off because it's not really the perfect weather for it. And I'm wearing also the skirt because I just filmed a reel wearing all this outfit, and then I said, okay, maybe it's the time to also film the weekly summary because it's the end of the week already, and why not? I have the makeup on, everything, so it's perfect. So the sprinkle sweater, I have a YouTube video tutorial for it. I have a written pattern for it. It's crochet. It's in waistcoat stitch, so it's looking like knitting, but yeah, and it's really warm. So now let's dig into the questions, because otherwise we won't have time for everything. So I have a few questions about the same thing. Carla Apoles, by the way, my daughter's name is also Carla. Adina H4ZZ, and Kathleen and Texas Girl asked me where I get inspiration for all my designs. And maybe I should tell you that I received this question so often because usually when yarn brands having a small interview or something like that, they're asking me where I'm getting the inspiration of. And also I'm looking at other designers having this I don't know, cities, buildings, colors, everything. And when I'm thinking of my inspiration, is that not always I can point something. So when I was thinking about where my inspiration is coming from, then I actually realized that I'm like a sponge. So everything around me, I think I'm not sure, everything around me, it's giving me inspiration all day. So I'm getting everything like a sponge. And maybe when I find a trigger, something, mood, or I don't know, something that happened, maybe it just explodes, and this is how one of the ideas are coming. I think this is it. Another thing that I noticed with me, because someone asked me if it's the yarn which inspires me, or colors or something like that, and it's true. Sometimes if I'm getting some yarn and I'm looking at it, I like, okay, I can do this with this yarn. Or some other times I'm just scrolling over the internet, and Pinterest is a good inspiration for me, but I'm not looking in especially in other designers, crochet knitting designers, but in the streetwear. So my inspiration, or my I don't know, my focus, my goal, my wish, my what I desired for my designs is that to be able to recreate something that is already out there. So if I'm going in a clothes shop, for example, I can see so many things, especially now because all the there are a lot of knitwear into the shops, and I'm like, okay, I can make this, or a shape of a clothes, and I'm like, okay, I can make this. But when I started, what I used the most as inspiration were my own clothes, and that's why I was telling every new designer or wannabe designer that this is the easiest way to use your own clothes, something that you like, and you already have the shape, you already know how it will look in the end, or how you want to look in the end. So this will be a perfect thing to look for into your closet and see what you might crochet or knit from there. So basically my inspiration is from everywhere, from yarn, from clothes, and I always make what I want to wear, so what I feel comfortable to wear. That's why lately most of my designs were like oversized, because like every one of us having some issues with our body. So I don't like my body, my upper body, because I'm too thin, skinny, so I try to compensate this with bouncy clothes, maybe. I don't know. So this is about the inspiration. I think I don't know. I think you just need to listen what your brain is telling you. Yeah, it was something else about the inspiration, about Echo. Cromwell said, I love your tutorials. I love that you use up leftover yarns, stray skein. Is that what gives you ideas on designs? Yes, lately I just wanted to just use up some of the yarn that I had, and this is it. I'm like gathering the skeins and I'm looking at them. What can I do with this? So I'm just, okay, maybe a sweater, maybe this. With this, actually, it came up from a stitch pattern. I just, well, I knew the stitch pattern, but I didn't know how it looks together, like actually crocheting something into this this stitch. And when I had to make something for Annie's and I found about this stitch, I was like, oh, I love this one and I can make a sweater. So sometimes are just simply the simplest things. The only thing is that when I have an idea, I need to put it down right away, and I will have some questions about that. Larita is telling me that I love your patterns, currently making the paint sweater and enjoying every stitch. My question is, do you prefer to crochet clothes for spring, summer, or autumn, winter? I think at first I loved to crochet spring, summer things, and still do, and I still love making them. But this is maybe just because this is how I learned to crochet. My mom or everyone around me never crochet with thicker yarn, so it was always that thread, that thin yarn, making doilies, making skirts for myself as I was a little girl. But always it was a small hook and some cotton yarn. So this is what was my concept about crochet, and maybe that's why at first I enjoyed more working summer clothes. But I can say that I love them both. When I'm in the fall winter, I can't wait for summer to come and wear some lacy stitches. When I'm in the summer, I'm like, okay, I can't wait to make some cozy sweater, to use this yarn or whatever. So I think both of them. But if I will have to choose something, if it will be, and maybe I love more fall winter, because I think that are more wearable. Because during summer there are some fibers that you can use, but there are some hot days that you simply cannot stand anything on your body. So I think that even if it's a fiber out of plants, cotton, linen, anything, that yarn won't be so nice to wear if it's a really hot weather. But I do prefer wearing crochet to other fibers that you can find in clothes, like I don't know, because they are lacy, airy, so your body can breathe, so it's so. But I do think that fall winter projects or sweaters are more wearable because of the cold. Sandy, she's telling me that I love all your work. How do you buy your yarns? In variegated colors, single color, sales. I made a pair of pants too. Oh, nice to hear that. Do you know anything about hats? That's my next project. It's crazy. I sometimes make summer wear in winter time and vice versa. Anyway, baby, I love your work. God bless you and your family, I think. So this is it. So Sandy is like me. Sometimes during winter I just can't wait to crochet something for summer. How I choose my yarn? Well, lately I didn't bought too much yarn. Well, I bought some cotton and something. I was crazy about variegated yarn for a while. Then I realized that it's kind of you cannot do too many things with variegated yarn without having to cut it, to do it, split the colors, because maybe it's working only for working in the round, but then yeah, when you need to get to the sleeves, if you want to make with sleeves, then you need to see how these three parts will work, the colors and everything. So because it's too complicating to mix and match those colors, I didn't use them for a long period of time. But I do love the variegated one, that like Frida, that is not necessarily like ombre or color by color. It's just simply getting some stripes, so which is kind of nice at some point. But I do think, I sometimes think that a project looks nicer if it's a unique color, if it's only one color. I don't know, even with this sweater, for example, I want to make it in one single colors because I'm sure that it will be different. Not different like in terms of drape of something else, but how you can wear this sweater basically, and how your entire appearance will look. So sometimes it depends. I'm choosing my yarn, especially what I have, and then trying to from there to see if I don't have enough yarn of something, or if I cannot do something with what I have, then I'm looking in other size to see what I can buy. But it's depending on the project. Now that I made this one in colorful, which was the entire idea to use the skein, now after seeing it, I'm like, oh, this will look so nice in one single color. So every project inspires me differently to pick and choose some other yarn. Lucky is asking me what is my favorite design, most favorite design and patterns. Oh, I have so many that I love, but I think that I'm I don't know, I'm influenced by the mood that it gives me. So it's not necessarily the design itself or the shape or something, as how it makes me feel. So for now, if I will be to pick up one, I don't know if it's here. If it's a winter one, I think it's the cold brew sweater. I don't know, it makes me feel well wearing it. And if it will be to pick an summer one, I think is the dune top. I don't know, I love that top so much. But if I will look back, it's like my precious sweater, which was really precious and so many people liked it and love it. I don't know, I have to so many things, and it depends on my mood and on my and that day. Judith is asking, your sweater are so lovely and comfy looking. How would they look on a plus-sized woman? Well, this is a thing that I wouldn't know. I think I saw a few of my designs in plus-size woman, but maybe because I'm not using testers, and some of you will say, oh wait, not testers are so good to use in my designs. I know they are. I value their input in this community, but because when I first started, I didn't know about testers, that there is such a community like testers, and somehow I moved forward with this, learned a lot about shaping, about woman body, about sizes, and then I had my schedule in that way, and always being so I don't know, oh this is it, I finish it, let's take it out, okay, so I cannot wait. And I also want to give a tester enough amount of time to finish a project. So for now I'm thinking about that, not in the manner that I need my patterns to be tested, but because it's good for others to see how the project will look on different types of body. And this you can reach only with tester, because it's impossible to make a sweater or a sample in a different range of patterns and have people to wear it, just to take photos and so on. But I think they will look nice. And this is because I'm thinking, every time I'm grading a pattern, I'm thinking each size individually. So I don't care if I did something for size small and I don't need to make it match to be easy to write or something like that. No, I'm thinking when I'm grading a pattern, I have the design, I have the ease, I have everything, and I'm building the pattern, the written pattern, as I will make that sweater or that project into that size. So thinking from the beginning each size, having a sample, my sample, which usually is size small, having it as a model, as the ease, as the shape, as everything, but I'm thinking each size individually, so I don't think it will look bad. Handmade Design is asking, when did you start crochet knitting? What is your first crochet knitting project? What is your favorite project? So about and when did you start your crochet or knitting journey? Well, I started to crochet, I learned to crochet back in my childhood, but it wasn't my thing. Well, my mom knew to crochet, learned to knit while I was a child, so she wasn't good at it. So, but I learned it, I was curious about it. So I was just curious about how to do it, but in my mom's head it was, you won't need that, you don't need to learn that, you need to study, you need to do that, you need to do that. So I wasn't really into it. But then my crochet journey, knitting journey, so I learned both in my childhood. I think I learned and actually made something in knitting, so knitting was more appropriate for that because I had more times during winter than in summer, because in summer I was like just going out playing and so on. And but I started in 2017 when we moved here in the Netherlands, and I had my small baby. It was a baby back then, so I needed to do something with my time, and I wanted to, and I was I think the first thing, it was a hoodie for my daughter, a baby hoodie, and it was, I found it so nice and funny to make small things. So I made a couple of things for her. Then I never thought about myself that I will be patient enough to finish like a large project. That's why I was always making things for my daughter at the beginning. And then I made a dress. I know that I saw a diagram, actually a crochet diagram, and then a photo with a dress, and I managed to make that dress without having a pattern actually. And then I realized that I really like this, and I search and I search and I search, and I know that I saw that people are doing it, selling patterns, putting out there on a website the patterns. And this was because I was crocheting for my daughter. I was posting on my Instagram account back then, on my personal account, and then I found some groups and posting there, and people started to ask me, okay, do you have a pattern, do you have a pattern? And then I started to read, what is a pattern? I didn't know about it. I was just working how my mind was telling me, measuring clothes of my daughter to see how much big I need to make it. So it was, what is a pattern, and made me curious about it. And then I searched and I saw that there are actually a lot of patterns over the internet. So then I started to just, okay, where do I put the patterns? I didn't know about Ravelry, Etsy, a lot of communities where you can go and sell patterns. So I was only using my website. Of course that I didn't know how you need to write the pattern. So in my opinion, it was like, okay, measure yourself, put this. I didn't know about gauge, about so many things. So but I was doing it. I was just explaining how I am doing it, my process. So this was actually my patterns at the beginning. I wasn't selling them, I was just putting them on my website, and basically it's explaining how I was doing. So I measured that, I did that. So I was never telling the number of stitches or my gauge or something like that. But people were keep asking. So then I realized that, okay, I need to make a research about it and learn more things. And then I started slowly to learn more about it and to start writing a proper pattern. But yeah, it was funny. And about my favorite project, I think I said. Calming Waters is asking, when did you start your crochet journey? What was your very first project? So I told you in 2017 I start with the blog, and my very first project, I told you, it was a hoodie for my daughter. I don't have it anymore to show it, but I don't know why I didn't give that. Michelle is asking, can you learn how to knit series? I don't really knit and would love to work a small project while learning, or maybe a crochet along for all of us. This is a nice idea. I was thinking about the crochet along, but a different one, which basically it won't be even a crochet along. You can do it even if you're knitting with a sweater, and just telling the process, the designing process. And I'm sure that everybody could make one in their size, using whatever yarn they will want, and I'm sure that it will work. And I'm interested in doing so, but I need more time in a day. With knitting series, yeah, I think I can do them as soon as I will, because with knitting right now I don't I know the techniques, really, so many of them, but I don't know the name of them, like different types of binding off. I knew them, but I didn't knew that it's a specific name or something. I was doing short rows at once just because this was the feeling that I need to do it, to just turn and work more stitches in one place, but I didn't know that it's a technique. So I need to make my research about that, to just put them on a paper and see everything, so I can explain and have actually a proper knit series. Tyne is asking, how many hours a day do you work on your crochet or knitting? Thank you for amazing tutorials and this chance to win a first crochet. I don't know if you're in a winner's list, but maybe next time if you're not. So actually I'm not knitting or crocheting that much. I think because my schedule is like this. If my daughter is at school, I'm trying until she's back home to make anything I can like this, to record a tutorial or to edit a tutorial or to write a pattern. So I'm trying to do this computer work, because this is where my focus needs to be in, and I need to be really concentrated in what I'm doing. Plus, if I'm making a video or editing something, I need no child noises. I know it will be funny, but I know I won't feel okay with it. And then after she's ending, if in this period I still have time for crochet something, I'm doing it, a few rows, but it's mostly 1 or 2 hours in this period, from morning up to in the afternoon. And then after picking her up from school, if she has some friends over or she's at a friend, I still have some times before dinner to work something, so maybe 1 hour there. And then in the evening, after she's going to bed, I have maybe another hour. So in a full day, let's say, I can have 3 to 3 hours, let's just say, in average. But there are also days when I'm not crocheting or knitting at all. So it's every day is different depending on what I have to do and what life is bringing me. Veronica is also interested in knitting and any advice for a beginning. With knitting, I think the most important thing, not to get discouraged about it, especially if you crochet for a while, because I don't know if crochet is faster, but it's a different position of your hands, using them differently. So I think the most important at the beginning is to play with yarn and knit as many stitches as you want. Maybe make some small things like scarves or coals or whatever, just to get used with your tension, because at first when I started it was very discouraging for me, because I was too slow, because my tension wasn't even, and those things makes me just put the project aside, and that was it. But I was like, okay, I want to do that, I love them. So there are so many things that they are not the same with crochet. So I always keep doing it in my spare time, not really for having a knitting pattern, but just for me to knit more. And it was a good thing for me, because I was using those projects as a break between the crochet stuff. It's, as I said, it's a different move, and my hands weren't that tired. So it was like a break for me. And after doing it, I realized that my tension was okay, or I got used to my way of knitting. Because this, if you're looking at Russian girls who are knitting, their projects are so perfect. They are like in the shops, like it's a machine. So everything is so neat, so perfect. And when you're looking at that, I know that the comparison thing is not a good thing, but and when I was looking at mine, which were like looser stitches, tiny stitches, and so on, it was like, I don't like it. But when you got used to it and you realize that, you know what, it's my handmade things, is this it's what I did, and I need to be proud of it, and then everything is going easier. So yeah, maybe start with scarves or some smaller projects, not to be discouraged by the thing that you're not able to finish that project. And by the time you are going and keep knitting, maybe you should try bigger projects as well. What is my favorite hook size? Well, I love to work with finger to decay weight yarn, so maybe I will say 4mm, 4.5mm crochet hook. They have inspired me to make crochet tops. I have some Lime Brand Troubo that I would like to use. Any suggestion? I'm currently working on your summer top. Yeah, because I'm in Netherlands, it's really difficult for me to get Lime Brand yarn, so I never tried the Troubo yarn. I think once the Make and Do crew did guest post, and I was working, and the yarn was sponsored by Lime Brand, and they sent me bamboo, I think, and it was the one that I used it. But I don't know how it feels, so I won't, but as I'm seeing, it's a really drapey and heavy yarn, so maybe summer projects and things like that, but I didn't touch it any this type of yarn, so I won't know exactly, but I think it's for summer projects, and you might try working tops or cardigans that are light and wavy. Camila, I would love to try one of the first crochet hooks. So my question would be, what is your best tip to figure out to make the garment bigger? What I mean is that usually the biggest size will be too small for me because I am a tight crocheter. So this is a really important question, because all of us are having a different way of crocheting. From the way that we are holding our hook is important. Then it's really important the yarn, the fiber that the yarn contains, because this can affect your tension. Even if you're working with the same crochet hook and a similar yarn, weight yarn, then your tension might vary. So in this, the gauge is really important, to try to get the designer gauge, but it's not always that simple, because maybe if you're crochet too tight, you're not used to a looser tension, so you can feel, or might feel, that looser stitches are not well, or if you your looser stitches, if you need to crochet looser to get the gauge, the pattern gauge, then your tension might not be constant. So this will affect the way how your final fabric will look, and you might not be pleased with it. So the most important thing in working a big size is to be able to adjust the pattern to your own way of crochet. Yes, the first and easiest thing is to make a gauge swatch, trying to get to the designer's gauge, and then going from there following the pattern. But then you need to think about it, that okay, I need to make this piece of fabric crocheting, and everybody will need a number of stitches and rows in this piece of fabric that I will need in the end. So according with your tension, if you're a tighter crocheter, you might need more stitches than the designer's original designer. Okay, so this is about it. You simply work more stitches and more rows if you're your crochet, your tension is too tight, or if your crochet, your tension is too loose, you will need to work less stitches and less rows. But behind that is an entire math. So but it's easy to figure it out. Okay, if you need to start the back panel, and the crochet designer is having it has 10 stitches per 10 rows in a 4 inches square or 10 centimeters square, and you have 12 stitches and 12 rows, or 15 stitches, then you need to adjust that and multiply that by the width that you will need your back panel to be. So if you have 16 stitches in 10 centimeters or 4 inch, and you need a 50 centimeter fabric in the end, then you'll need to multiply your 10 centimeter gauge to the final measurements of the fabric. So this is basically it. You need to calculate exactly how many stitches you will need to get to the final measurement of the piece. It's true that this is simple for depending on the shape of the sweater. There is also a small an easy formula. For example, you need to divide your gauge to the designer gauge and see what is the proportion into it, and then to apply that proportion to the number of rows and to the number of stitches, and that might be helpful to calculate the number of stitches that you will need. I tried it because some people asked me to adjust the pattern to a different type of yarn. For example, for my precious sweater, someone asked me from Australia, told me, okay, I cannot find this thinner yarn, so I have worsted weight yarn. With how many stitches do I need to start? And applying this formula, I asked her, of course, the gauge that she had, and then making the proportion between her gauge and my gauge, and applying that proportion to the entire pattern, like number of rows of stitches. I was able to help her to know with how many stitches she will need to start, or how many rows she will need to work. So this might work, this is working, but you need to figure out and do this by yourself. And of course, for if your tension is tighter, take into account that you will need more yarn, so maybe you don't want that. So through both, this was who taught you to knit and crochet, how long have you done both? So I think I asked that. Virginia, hi Katerina, I have made multiple sweaters with your help. I recently made the briolet vest, which I love. I love you finally decide to make this kind of videos. I enjoy very much watching what people crochet. It gives me inspiration for my next project. My question is, what program do you use to write your patterns, and how do you know plan projects to fit you the way you want? Do you strictly make a swatch? So first, I was using to write my patterns, I was using at first Word. I never thought about it was like, okay, I need to write a document, so this is Word for me. But now I'm using InDesign, which is not cheaper or not free as it is the Office Word. But at some point I said, okay, I need to do something. I need to find a shape, a template of my pattern, because with Word the writing is getting down and you cannot keep the shape of it. You can use PowerPoint, you can use now Canva. If you're familiar with this platform, with this app, you can use it even to write and to make PDF documents, so you can use it to write the pattern. But so anything from Word, PowerPoint, Canva. I think I saw when I made the reel about it, I think someone said something else about something from Google. So but what I'm using is InDesign right now. And what was, because it was another question, I think, how you, if I'm making the gauge. Yes, most of the time I'm doing the gauge. I will admit that not always, and this is because what I'm not doing it always is because that sometimes I'm already know if I worked with that yarn already, that type of yarn, and with that hook size, then I know how many stitches I will have approximately. And but the gauge is the what you need to do. And also lately, because I work with so many fibers, and some of them they are not having memory, I like to say, like cotton, for example. Cotton, it doesn't matter if you wash it or wet blocking, and you steam blocking is the same, so it doesn't modify any sizes. But with other types of yarn, I realize, and it can be in finger merino, for example, and especially if it's a dyed yarn, that it's after wet blocking, it's getting bigger. What is difficult, even with merino and pure merino, 100% merino, I found that with wet blocking, it's difficult to put the stitches when it's wet, the piece is wet, to put the stitches to the initial measurements, which were before wet blocking. So I know that maybe after getting dry is shrinking back, but the idea is that I'm trying to wet blocking my gauge swatches, because if I don't know the fiber or how it reacts, if it's something new in it or something like that, I make a gauge swatch and then I block it, because I want to see the final piece, how it will look, and I want to see if I can wash my makes, because I love to wash them. I love to have them like a regular clothes, which I'm putting them in the washing machine and they are done to ready to wear. So I'm always looking for fibers like that can be washable. And but first, with the gauge, I'm testing if the colors are not getting out, if it's not getting stretchy, if it's not getting, because it's important to me to know how to care the final project, about the final project. It's important to me at the beginning to have the gauge and the gauge swatch, and to know how my final fabric will look and my final project. And also you can use the gauge to find approximately how much yarn you will need. So yeah, gauge swatching, it's really important, and it will help you out from so many things. Laurel, thank you for a peek into your life. I really love your work. I learned top-down sweaters about 2 years ago, but haven't graduated to 6 colors yet. Could you do something using cables? They are the bane of my existence. Your sweaters, I like blankets, especially the green striped one. Super cozy looking. The sweater for your daughter is adorable. I still remember one winter my mom made matching sweater for me and my sister, and that's a memory treasure. She will too. I was a single mom. You're much more organized than I was. I like the yoga pants too. Yeah, so having it was a question over here. Okay, it's to do something with cables. Actually, I have a sweater which is springtime cable sweater. It's an old one, but maybe I will remake it someday. But I was thinking, I saw some knitting cables, and I said that maybe it's to do some matching pieces with cables, so I had this in mind already, but yeah, to see if I will have time. Thank you for sharing your current project. Suzanne is telling us, already very inspiring, like all of your other great videos. I love your designs, and this summer I made various of your diamonds, my precious sweater. Everybody loves them. I'd have several questions, like, do you have a certain technique to calculate, design the raglan lines? I have been wondering how to make design a raglan with stitch patterns of a certain multiple, but I haven't figured it out yet. And could you perhaps tell already a bit more about the new technique in the armholes you are talking about, the insert sleeve? Also, I'm curious whether you are using a computer during your designing process, and if so, in which way. Thank you again. Okay, so with the raglans, yes, if you have a pattern that has a certain repeats in it, my tip is to calculate the pattern, the stitch pattern, individual for each side, each section. So for front, back, and sleeves, and you need to see this section individually, like a single piece. Okay, so you don't need to think the entire yoke or raglan. Then another thing about how to split when you're making the foundation or something like that. Yeah, it's a proportion that it's working, and you might think about that. It's usually thinking of the entire piece as 100% and dividing by 6. You will have two for front and back, and one for sleeves. So this will be 2, 1, 1, 2, and dividing the entire number of stitches. I do recommend, and lately I found them really easy to make, the round yokes like this one, but of course if you have a certain pattern repeat, it might not work, or you need to figure out how to make the increases. Like this, for example, it was the same, but when working with the different stitch, so here you need to see, like, one stitch is this V. So when you're counting, when you're calculating, everything relates with this stitch, not with the one that there were at the beginning. So this will be my tips. I'm using computer too when designing. In my design process, first I'm using it to sketch. If I need to do something, I'm using Illustrator for sketching, just to put there my measurements, everything what I need, especially doing it if I have an idea and I don't really have time immediately to swatch something. Then it will help me to know from, oh, this was the idea and everything. I'm using Excel spreadsheet to just put the numbers in it, and then I'm using mostly my phone, because it's always while working, because it's always with me, and I'm taking my notes there, and then I transfer those notes and consider them into the pattern. So yeah, technology is quite important when designing, especially, but this can be of course, you can use also a notebook and just write down anything. It's working for you is perfect. So I don't really think about using computer and only the computer. Well, Janina, which is a Romanian girl like I am, hi, only that I will say the question in English. I love very much the sweater in the at minute 5. The colors are really natural together. I don't know how you get it to combine so many colors. How do I put the colors together? Well, for this sweater, actually, I had those single skeins, and I simply put all the skeins together, and I'm not lying, for sure. And I just asked my daughter, okay, do you think this color matches together, and how you'll see an order? And she picked that order. And why I'm choosing her to help me with that is because sometimes our minds are influenced. So I think a child's mind is so clear and so pure, and they don't care about, because maybe, okay, how to put this gray next to this I don't know, green or something. But and they're thinking, they don't thinking about why they're not matching, they are not in the same color palette or something. They are not overthinking on stuff. So I really, when she put the skeins together like this, I was like, oh my god, this won't work. But then I said that, okay, I cannot change the order because then she will get mad. Well, I don't think she remembers the order that she put in that day. But in my thing was, okay, I need to give her credit, and if this was the order that she picked, then this is how I will do it. And I don't care if it will look ugly. This is the colors that my daughter chose, and I'm happy with it. So this is what I did with the this sweater. And with the other sweater, I don't know, it's just gathering some yarn. Sometimes I'm not thinking that the colors will work together, but simply working, because yeah, I don't think there are yarn that are not matching or something like that. I just go for it, and in the end, as long as I'm putting colors together, then I say, oh, this will be nice to put blue next to it or something. So working and putting them together, then it's kind of matching. There are several things over the internet helping you to mix match the colors, which is even the color wheel, how to put contrasting colors, and some theory about it. But I really don't like to work like this. You can also look to Pantone or colors that are in trend, because they are showing you some color palettes and you can get inspired over there. Or simply, if you want to see how the yarn you have it's looking together, you can simply take a piece of cardboard and just wrapping over the yarns together and see how they will look together, picking the one color up, putting another, and this will be helpful to visualize the color together. Carrie, I love to see finished objects, whips, and what you have planned for the future. My question is, what are the best yarns for a particular project? Sometimes it can be hard to get the same on new use, so any recommendation, what to look for, etc. will be great. Lately, and for some I don't know, weird yarn for me, like I worked on the diamond sweater dress. It was a yarn that it was in the 5 or 4 category, but one skein, one ball of yarn had like 240 meters per 50 grams, which is actually a fingering weight yarn, so it was super light, but the wire, the strand itself, it was thick. And I think I same as this one, which is from Line Yarns. It's really light, airy, but look how thick is the strand. So when I have this type of yarn, I'm trying to find matching yarn, and a good website for it is yarnsubstitute.com. You can just type a yarn brand and they will match the fibers that yarn contains and give you the most appropriate matches for that yarn. But you need to look first the weight of yarn, second how many meters, because you need to take this into account, because having the same weight, meaning DK, worsted, or so ever, but if it's a lighter yarn like this one, but you cannot find, you find a regular DK width yarn which most probably has 120 meters per 50 grams or something like that, then your final project will be heavier, because the yarn is heavier, even the wire is the same thickness. So I will look about that as well, and I will look about the fiber. you most probably you can use different fiber. If I'm doing something with cotton, maybe you can use acrylic, but the end result will be different. You cannot expect to have the same drape, the same shape, because the fiber is really important. So I will go for weight. Then this particular thing that it might be to have kind of same, even if it's the same weight, like thickness, like drops per inches, how it's calculated. You need to look how many meters you have in your yarn and how many meters you have in the designer's yarn, because this might affect the weight of the final project, and you might not like that. And also fibers, and matching fibers are I don't know, with merino it will always be a match to work with acrylic, for example. I'm not against acrylic, I know it's a synthetic yarn, I don't care. I started when I didn't have money to spend on yarn, and even now I don't like to spend too much money on yarn. I know that the yarn is important, but my focus is to be able to do that project using any yarn that you have. This is the thing, is the pleasure of making and the pleasure of having a sweater that you made. And I'm trying to this was what I was focused lately. I'm trying to use even if I'm using another fibers, but the design itself can be made in any type of yarn. Like this one, it has merino and acrylic. The yarn mix acrylic with cotton, merino with cotton are the most good to look for, because they are super easy to care, and the shape will stay in place and not getting stretchy. So I don't know, I will use the yarn suggestion. I'm trying lately to give the suggestions for other types of yarn, and I'm looking on my community, see from where people are, and trying to find some substitute yarn that they can use. But you can use this website, Yarn Substitute, and it will give you a few ideas. I especially oh, and I was about the inset sleeves. I don't know if I'll have enough time to talk about it, but because it's already too long and I still have a few more questions to answer. The inset sleeve is basically working and increasing only on back and front without sleeves at the beginning, and then when you reach the desired width, or usually needs to be the cross back or shoulder to shoulder, then you start increasing on the sleeve. You can do this in both sleeve and body, especially on the armpit if you need to get the body, but it's again math, but this is the idea. So increasing only back and front, having some stitches for the shoulder here, I have here, and then after getting the width of the cross back, you simply start working on the sleeves. And if you need to adjust the width for your bust, you can go even more here, not necessarily to be depending on the design. And here you can adjust that with just by increasing also for the body next to the armpit, or with the armpit chains, and you can just adjust the width. I need to calculate everything for it to know exactly, and also want to make another sample because I want to understand everything, how it's working to be able to explain it, but this is mostly it. What is the most difficult part for you about designing new patterns and bringing it to paper? Actually, bring them to paper I think is the most difficult, and I was telling you at the beginning, because I'm thinking each size individual. Some projects might work and it's easy to grade them, but for some, and usually the raglan ones, the round yoke ones, and different types of top-down sweater or something, it's difficult to grade because plus sizes are getting bigger in width but not necessarily in length. So imagine that you might have the same yoke depth for bigger sizes or slightly smaller, but you'll need way more stitches to have around the bust. Imagine that our head, I don't think if you're a plus size you have a big head or slightly bigger, let's just say, so you won't need necessarily a wider neck. So these things you need to play with them, and that's why I love to think of a size individually, and as I will design it for, and not to think about the smaller size and just adding stitches and rows to get to a bigger size. So putting that on paper, because from designing, some of the things that I designed were, so yeah, they were super easy to make but so difficult to explain in words. So if my precious sweater, after I think a few rows you can figure out how the pattern is working, but writing that pattern is insane. So this is the most difficult part, because I'm not, when designing something, I'm not thinking, oh, I wish that it will be easier to write. No, I just like the idea and I need to do it, and then somehow I need to make it work even in words. So this is the most tricky part, I think. This has been great. I'm new to crochet, so I'm loving all of your project. I especially love the sweater out of the Frida yarn. And when it's coming out, I'm trying to be more and with my designs, not to be that crowded, because I used to have 2 patterns per month, and this is, I think, too much even for people that want to make my patterns. So I'm thinking, because I still have so many things to do and to figure out about the pattern, even to make another sample for the tutorial and everything, maybe it will be somewhere November, December, I don't know. I don't really plan everything, so when it will be ready I will get it out, but for now I still have too many things to figure out about it. Loving every of your crochet designs. Lindsay is telling you were my inspiration to try top-down sweaters, and now that is my favorite choice in making garments. I love the striped cardigan that you knitted. Is there any chance you could mimic the pattern and release it in a crochet cardigan? I was thinking about it just when I was working on it, and I was thinking, oh my god, I would love to make a crochet version as well. It's all about time. I would love to do everything in crochet, mix match the designs that I'm doing it, because I know that not everybody knows to knit, or even if knows to knit, she wants a crochet version of something. So yeah, I was thinking about it, and I wish I could have more time, but we'll see. I'm not putting aside this thing. I like all of your design because they are versatile. The question is that front post, back post crochet ribbing, very beautiful like the other sweaters. So this is front post and regular single crochet in between. So this is the stitch pattern that I'm using. And I think this was it with all the questions. I think it's a really long video. I know that maybe if I missed some, I'm sorry about that. So this will be the end of this video with all these questions. I hope you enjoyed it, and of course if you have more questions, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to comment on all of your comments, but because I said that I will make the video with answering your question, then there is no point to write a comment. I don't really have time for everything. I think and I think I said it before, this social media is like killing me. It's like an entire job, and I sometimes not forget, but I cannot keep up the number of comments and to be able to answer all of them. Then I'm waking up after a month or so, and then it's like it's weird to answer now. Maybe it will be nice from my side, even if it's long time after that person comments, to at least give something. I'm trying when it's even here on YouTube, if it's a question of pattern related or something, to answer back just to be helpful, but this it's not happening always, and I'm so sorry about that. I'm planning to be more organized. Maybe if I'm going to release only one pattern per month, I will have time to build up this community and make it stronger. And I know that to make it stronger is important, the relationship that you have with your followers. So that was for today. So it wasn't really a weekly journal because I didn't show you too much. I just told you I just finished making the charts for it, because I needed to make for the yoke a chart for each size, and to grade the pattern. And now I'm about to write it, and yeah, to make it look nice and beautiful, to be ready. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I don't have any presents for you today because I don't have something else, but I promise you that I will be, because if I'm getting something, it's nice to give it away to other people if you don't especially need it. So that was the thing with the crochet hooks, because I already have quite a few. So it's nice if First Crochet gave it to me to give them away to other people that wish for them. So thank you so much for watching, and can't wait to see you next week. Bye.